Adrian Okafor's hands trembled as he pressed play on his phone for the third time that morning. Adrian, if you're listening to this, I'm already gone. The voice was soft, calm, dangerous. He stood frozen in his marble hallway, his expensive Tom Ford suit still carrying the scent of another woman's perfume. The morning light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows of his Gangnam penthouse, casting long shadows across imported Italian tiles. "Gone?" he whispered into his phone. "Yara, stop playing." "I left your ring on the table," the voice continued, each word measured and deliberate. "And everything you think belongs to you." His chest tightened. Adrian's fingers gripped the phone harder, knuckles turning white. "Baby, whatever you heard, I can explain." "You don't need to explain," she interrupted, and he could hear something in her voice he'd never heard before. Not anger, something worse. Peace. "I already know everything." A long pause stretched between them. Adrian could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. Then the words that changed his life. "I hope she was worth what you're about to lose." The message ended with a soft click. Adrian slowly turned toward the living room, his expensive leather shoes clicking against the floor. And that was when he saw it. Her wedding ring, the 3-carat diamond he'd chosen himself, sitting alone on the glass table. Her bookshelves, once filled with African literature and art history volumes, completely empty. Her collection of Yoruba sculptures, gone. The throw pillows she'd brought from Lagos, vanished. Even the air smelled different, emptier. That was the morning one of the richest men in Seoul learned a terrifying lesson. A woman who leaves quietly is the most dangerous woman of all. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to AfroKorean Story Vault, the hub of great stories. If this opening grabbed you, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications because this story is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and let's dive in. Adrian walked through his penthouse like a ghost touring his own life. Every step revealed another absence. Her closet, once bursting with vibrant African prints and elegant Korean hanbok, hung empty. Wire hangers swayed slightly in the air conditioning. Her vanity, cleared of makeup and perfume bottles. Her side of the bathroom, stripped bare. Even her toothbrush was gone. He pulled out his phone, fingers fumbling as he dialed her number. It rang once, then went to a generic voicemail message. Not her voice. An automated system message in Korean. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." He tried again. Same result. Adrian stumbled to the kitchen, his mind racing. The breakfast nook where they used to have coffee together sat pristine and untouched. He opened the pantry. Her African spices, the ones she ordered specially from Lagos, all gone. The jollof rice pot she loved, missing. The plantain slicer her mother had given her, vanished. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't anger. This was surgical precision. His phone buzzed. A text from Min Ji-han. "Last night was amazing. When can I see you again?" Adrian stared at the message, his stomach turning. Minji. The Korean socialite with the porcelain skin and designer wardrobe. The woman he'd been seeing for 8 months, sneaking around like a teenager while his wife smiled at charity galas and posed for magazine covers. He deleted the message without responding. Racing to his study, Adrian yanked open drawers, searching for something, anything that would tell him where Yara had gone. His hands landed on a leather-bound journal he'd never seen before. The cover was embossed with a simple gold pattern, West African Adinkra symbols. He opened it, and his wife's elegant handwriting stared back at him. March 15th, 3 years married today. Adrian forgot again. He came home at 2 a.m. smelling like someone else's perfume. I said nothing. I'm learning that silence is my strongest weapon. Adrian's throat constricted. April 22nd. I went to the hospital alone for the ultrasound, our baby's first picture, and I sat in that cold room by myself while Adrian was at a business dinner. The nurse asked where my husband was. I lied and said he was traveling. The shame burned hotter than the heartbreak. He flipped faster through the pages, each entry a knife to his conscience. June 10th. I saw them together today. Min Ji-han, the woman from his company events. They were at the cafe near his office, and the way he touched her hand made me realize he hasn't touched me like that in over a year. I stood across the street and watched the man I love betray me in broad daylight. Then I went home and cooked him dinner. Adrian's hands shook so badly he nearly dropped the journal. September 3rd. I've decided. I won't fight. I won't scream. I won't give him the satisfaction of breaking me publicly. I married a man. I live with a stranger. My son will not grow up thinking love looks like silence and lies. The entries became more strategic, more detailed. October 18th. I've contacted Amina Diallo. Adrian's blood ran cold. Amina Diallo. The name alone sent a chill down his spine. The powerful Senegalese-Korean businesswoman who'd been trying to acquire parts of his tech empire for 3 years. His fiercest business rival. A woman known for being brilliant, ruthless, and absolutely unforgiving. He kept reading, his pulse hammering. October 25th. Amina agreed to meet me. She said something I'll never forget. A man who underestimates his wife deserves to lose everything. She's helping me understand my options. Legal options. Financial options. Exit strategies. November 12th. I've started moving money. Small amounts Adrian will never notice. Into accounts he doesn't know about. My cousin Chidi flew in from Accra last week. He's a lawyer now, one of the best in West Africa. He looked at my situation and said one word. Destroy him. Adrian slammed the journal shut, his breathing ragged. Chidi Adeyemi. He'd met Yara's cousin once, briefly, at their wedding. A quiet man with sharp eyes who Adrian had dismissed as unimportant. He'd never bothered to learn anything about Yara's family beyond the basics. Nigerian, from Lagos, middle class. That was all he'd cared to know. His phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Mr. Okafor. The voice was female, professional, and unfamiliar. This is Attorney Park Min Seo from Seoul Family Court. We've received preliminary divorce paperwork filed on behalf of Mrs. Yara Adeyemi Okafor. We'll need you to confirm your address for service of documents. The phone slipped from Adrian's hand, clattering on his desk. Divorce. She'd actually filed for divorce. He scrambled to pick up the phone. Wait, this is a mistake. I need to speak to my wife. Where is she? I'm not at liberty to disclose Mrs. Okafor's location. The documents will arrive within 48 hours. Have a good day, sir. The line went dead. Adrian stood in his study, surrounded by the trappings of his success. Awards on the walls, photos of him with Korean tech industry leaders, magazine covers featuring him as one of Asia's most eligible bachelors before he'd married. And now, one photo of his wedding day, Yara stunning in a dress that blended Nigerian and Korean traditions, her smile radiant and trusting. He'd destroyed that smile. Systematically, deliberately, through 1,000 small cruelties and one massive betrayal. His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Mr. Okafor, you have a board meeting in 30 minutes. Adrian grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Work. He could focus on work, the empire he'd built, the company that bore his initials. AOK Global Technologies, 5,000 employees, offices in 12 countries, market cap of $15 billion. Surely Yara couldn't touch that. The boardroom fell silent when Adrian entered. 12 faces turned toward him, and something in their expressions made him pause. Not the usual deference. Something else. Concern. Pity. What? He demanded. Kim Sung-min, his CFO and oldest friend, slid a tablet across the table. You need to see this. Adrian looked down at the screen. His face stared back at him from the front page of Korea's largest business newspaper. But it wasn't a flattering photo from a conference or product launch. It was him and Min-ji, leaving a hotel together 3 weeks ago. The headline screamed in Korean, "Tech Titan's Secret Affair, AOK CEO Adrian Okafor's double life exposed." His vision blurred. How did they... There are more, Kim said quietly. 6 different publications, all released this morning, simultaneously. Photos, timelines, hotel receipts. Someone gave them everything. Adrian scrolled through image after image. Him and Min-ji at restaurants, getting into cars together, entering her apartment building. The documentation was meticulous, spanning months. Our stock is down 18% since market open, the CFO continued. Shareholders are demanding answers. 3 major clients have already called emergency meetings to discuss their contracts. Who leaked this? Adrian's voice came out as a growl. Silence around the table. Sir, one of the younger board members spoke up hesitantly. There's something else. Old lawsuits from 2019 have resurfaced. Employment discrimination cases we settled quietly. Someone's filed to reopen them, and the press has the documents. Adrian's world tilted. Those cases? Minor infractions, he'd thought. Korean employees who'd complained about preferential treatment, about his management style. He'd paid them off, made them sign NDAs. Ancient history. And there's a new lawsuit, Kim added. Filed this morning in Korean court. Emotional abuse and financial fraud. The plaintiff is Yara Adeyemi Okafor. The room spun. Get me my lawyers, Adrian said. All of them. Now. 6 hours later, Adrian sat across from his legal team in a conference room that smelled of coffee and desperation. 3 lawyers, all top specialists in Korean family law, all wearing identical expressions of concern. Mr. Okafor, the lead attorney began, your wife's legal team is extremely sophisticated. The filing includes documentation of financial transfers, evidence of marital assets being used to fund your extramarital relationship, and a detailed timeline of emotional neglect. Emotional neglect? That's not even a real... In Korean family court, it absolutely is, the attorney interrupted, especially when combined with infidelity and financial impropriety. They're arguing that you used marital funds to maintain a relationship with Ms. Han. Hotel stays, gifts, dinners, all purchased with joint accounts or company funds that should have benefited your family. Adrian leaned back in his chair. How much are we talking about? In terms of what she could be awarded, conservatively, half of everything. The penthouse, the vacation properties, investment accounts. And given that she gave up her career to support yours, potentially ongoing spousal support. She's Nigerian, Adrian said desperately. She can't just take Korean assets and... She's also Korean, the attorney corrected. Or did you forget? Mrs. Okafor obtained dual citizenship 2 years ago. She has every legal right to assets acquired during your marriage. Adrian had forgotten. Yara had been so excited when she'd passed her citizenship test, learned enough Korean to navigate the bureaucracy. He'd been too busy with Min-ji that week to even attend the ceremony. Who's representing her? He asked. The attorneys exchanged glances. A firm out of Accra, Ghana, in partnership with Lee and Associates here in Seoul. The lead attorney is Yara Adeyemi. Her cousin. Yes. And Mr. Okafor, you should know, Yara Adeyemi isn't just any lawyer. He's argued cases at the International Criminal Court. He's taken on multinational corporations and won. This isn't a family member doing her a favor. This is one of Africa's most formidable legal minds. And he's coming for your empire. Adrian left the law office as the sun set over Seoul. The city glittered below him, towers of glass and steel reflecting the dying light. He'd conquered this city, built his name here. married a woman he'd thought would be content to exist in his shadow. He'd been so catastrophically wrong. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Mr. Okafor, this is Amina Diallo. We should talk. There's a cafe near Namsan Tower. Be there in 1 hour. Come alone. Adrian stared at the message. Every instinct screamed trap. But he needed answers. Needed to understand how his carefully constructed life had collapsed in a single day. 58 minutes later, he walked into a quiet cafe tucked away from the main tourist areas. Amina Diallo sat in the corner, a vision of elegance in a tailored suit, her Senegalese heritage evident in her regal bearing and the subtle African jewelry she wore. Mr. Okafor, she greeted him without standing. Sit. Adrian sat, feeling like a schoolboy called to the principal's office. I won't waste your time, Amina said, stirring her tea with deliberate slowness. Your wife came to me 6 months ago. Brilliant woman. Absolutely brilliant. She walked into my office, sat in the chair you're sitting in now, and said something I'll never forget. What? Adrian's voice came out hoarse. She said, my husband thinks I'm decoration. Show me how to prove I'm the whole house. Amina smiled, and it didn't reach her eyes. So I did. You helped her plan this. I helped her understand her worth, Amina corrected. Everything else? That was all Yara. The strategic financial planning, the evidence collection, the media coordination. That woman is a genius, Mr. Okafor. And you were too busy with your little socialite to notice. Adrian's fists clenched. This is business for you. You're trying to destroy my company. Your company is destroying itself, Amina said calmly. The affairs, the discrimination lawsuits, the financial irregularities. I didn't create those problems. I simply made sure they'd see the light of day at the most strategic moment. You built your empire on sand, and Yara just pulled out the foundation. Where is she? Somewhere you can't reach her. Somewhere she's surrounded by people who actually value her. Amina leaned forward. Your wife didn't disappear, Mr. Okafor. She evolved. And frankly, watching her become the woman she was always meant to be has been one of the great privileges of my career. I need to see her. To explain... Explain what? That you're sorry? That it meant nothing? Save it. Amina stood, gathering her purse. Yara Adeyemi didn't need saving, despite what you thought. She came from strength. Her father is a retired judge. Her mother runs a successful textile business in Lagos. Her cousin is one of Africa's top attorneys. Her family has money, power, and influence you never bothered to learn about because you were too busy playing king. She paused at the door. Oh, and Mr. Okafor? The corruption files that are about to hit the Korean business press tomorrow? The ones detailing your company's tax evasion schemes and your cozy deals with government officials? Those came from Yara, too. She found them in your home office while you were busy making promises to Minji. Adrian felt the blood drain from his face. She wouldn't. She already did. The files were delivered to 3 major newspapers this afternoon. They go live at midnight. Amina's smile was sharp as glass. You didn't lose a wife, Mr. Okafor. You lost a queen. And queens don't beg. They leave. And sometimes, when you've hurt them enough, they burn your kingdom down on their way out. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Adrian sat alone in the cafe as the full weight of his situation crashed over him. His marriage, destroyed. His reputation, in tatters. His company, under siege. And somewhere out there, the woman he'd dismissed as weak was orchestrating his downfall with surgical precision. He pulled out his phone and booked a flight. If Yara was in Accra with her family, then that's where he'd go. He'd fix this. He had to. The flight from Seoul to Accra took 14 hours. Adrian spent every minute reviewing documents his lawyers had sent, trying to find a weakness in Yara's case. There was none. Every claim was backed by evidence. Every accusation supported by documentation. She'd been building this case for months, maybe longer, while he'd been too self-absorbed to notice. Accra hit him like a wall of heat when he stepped off the plane. The airport bustled with energy, a cacophony of languages and colors that reminded him why he'd fallen in love with Yara in the first place. Her vibrancy. Her connection to a world he'd never fully understood. He'd hired a local driver who navigated the chaotic streets while Adrian stared out at a city that felt both foreign and somehow right. Modern buildings next to open markets. Women in traditional kente cloth walking alongside businessmen in Western suits. This was Yara's world. The world she'd left behind for him. "Where to, sir?" the driver asked. Adrian gave him the address his private investigator had found. A compound in East Legon, one of Accra's upscale neighborhoods. The Adeyemi family home. The gates were imposing. Iron, painted a deep blue, with security cameras and an armed guard. Adrian's driver spoke to the guard in Twi, gesturing back at Adrian. The guard made a phone call, then another. Finally, he opened the gates. The compound was stunning. A large house in contemporary African style, surrounded by gardens bursting with tropical flowers. Solar panels on the roof. A Mercedes and a Land Rover parked in the circular driveway. This wasn't middle class. This was wealth, understated and elegant. The front door opened before Adrian could knock. A tall man in his 40s, wearing traditional Ghanaian cloth and an expression of barely controlled rage, stood in the doorway. "Chidi?" Adrian said, recognizing Yara's cousin from their wedding. "Mr. Okafor." Chidi's voice could have frozen fire. "You have exactly 5 minutes before I have security remove you from this property. I need to see Yara, please." "Why? So you can lie to her again? Manipulate her? Make promises you have no intention of keeping?" Chidi stepped aside, revealing a spacious entryway. "She's not here. But since you flew all this way, come in. There are some people who want to meet you." Adrian entered cautiously. The house smelled of cooking spices and flowers. African art covered the walls, museum-quality pieces. He recognized Yara's aesthetic immediately. In the living room, a woman in her 60s sat with perfect posture, wearing a beautiful wrapper and head tea. Yara's mother. Adrian had met her once at the wedding and treated her with polite disinterest. "Mrs. Adeyemi," he began. "Judge Adeyemi," she corrected, her voice cold. "Retired, but I still use the title. Sit down, Mr. Okafor." An older man entered from the garden, tall and distinguished. Yara's father. "So this is the man who thinks so little of my daughter." Adrian's carefully prepared speech died in his throat. These weren't the simple middle-class Nigerians he'd imagined. Judge Adeyemi. Attorney Adeyemi. The textile business wasn't some small shop. He could see now through the window a warehouse complex in the distance. "I made mistakes," Adrian started. "But I love Yara. I want to make this right." Yara's mother laughed, and the sound held no humor. "You love her? You left her alone during her pregnancy scare? You forgot 3 anniversaries. You paraded your mistress around Seoul while my daughter smiled for cameras. That's not love, Mr. Okafor. That's ownership. I can change. I'll end things with Minji. I'll go to counseling. Whatever Yara needs." "Yara needs you to sign the divorce papers," Chidi interrupted. "She needs you to accept responsibility for your actions. She needs you to leave her alone so she can rebuild the life you systematically destroyed." "Where is she?" Adrian demanded. "I have a right to see my wife." "You lost that right," Yara's father said quietly, "when you treated her like she was disposable." Footsteps on the stairs made everyone turn. And there she was. Yara Adeyemi Okafor, descending like royalty. But she was different. Her hair was natural now, no longer straightened to fit Korean beauty standards. She wore a gorgeous Ankara dress that celebrated her curves instead of hiding them. Her skin glowed. She looked healthy, radiant, and most terrifying of all, at peace. "Hello, Adrian," she said, her voice calm. He stood, words tumbling out. "Yara, thank God. Baby, we need to talk. This divorce, these lawsuits, you don't have to do this. We can fix our marriage. I'll do anything. Stop." One word, soft but absolute. Yara walked to the window, looking out at the garden. "Do you know what I was doing the day I decided to leave?" Adrian shook his head, mesmerized by this woman who looked like his wife but carried herself like someone he'd never met. "I was at our penthouse, cleaning up after the dinner party you threw for your business partners. You know, the one where you introduced Minji as your executive assistant, and I stood there serving drinks like hired help. After everyone left, I found a receipt in your jacket pocket. Hotel room, the same night you told me you were working late." She turned to face him and her eyes were dry. No tears. No anger. Just devastating clarity. "I stood in our bedroom and I asked myself a question. When did I become so small? I used to run a department at the National Museum in Lagos. I published papers on West African art history. I spoke 3 languages. I had dreams, Adrian. Big ones." "You can have those dreams again," Adrian pleaded. "We'll move back to Lagos if you want. You can restart your career. I'll support you." "You'll support me?" Yara's laugh was soft and sad. "You don't even know me. Did you know I speak Korean now? Fluently. I took classes every day for 2 years while you were with her. Did you know I've been consulting for the Ghana National Museum? They offered me a full-time position." "What?" "I've been rebuilding my life, Adrian. Quietly, strategically. While you were busy destroying our marriage, I was remembering who I was before I met you." Adrian moved toward her, but Chidi stepped between them. "That's close enough." "Yara, please, I know I hurt you. I was selfish and stupid and I took you for granted. But we took vows. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It meant everything," Yara said. "To me. Those vows meant I stood by you through every long night, every business crisis, every time you chose your ambition over our marriage. I kept my vows, Adrian. Every single one. Can you say the same?" Silence filled the room. "I didn't think so." Yara walked to a desk and pulled out a folder. "These are the divorce papers. Sign them." "No." "Then we'll do this the hard way," Chidi interjected. "The corruption investigation hits Korean news tonight. Tomorrow, the financial audit results go public. By Friday, your company will be in free fall. Sign the papers, accept the settlement terms, and maybe, just maybe, you'll keep your business." Adrian looked between them, finally understanding. This was all planned. The media leaks, the lawsuits, the timing. "You're blackmailing me." "No," Yara said firmly. "I'm making you face consequences for the first time in your life. You built an empire on cutting corners and hurting people. I'm just making sure the world knows who you really are." "I could fight this. I have resources, lawyers." "And I have the truth," Yara interrupted. "Plus documentation of every crime you've committed, every tax law you've violated, every person you've exploited. I spent 2 years collecting evidence while you were too arrogant to notice. So yes, fight me. Please. I'd love to watch you lose everything." Adrian stared at the woman he'd married, seeing her clearly for the first time. Not the quiet, accommodating wife who'd made herself smaller to fit into his life, but this warrior queen, standing in her power, ready to destroy him if he didn't yield. "Why?" he whispered. "If you hated me so much, why didn't you just leave quietly?" "Because quiet is what you expected," Yara said. "You thought I'd slink away, too ashamed to fight back. But I'm not ashamed, Adrian. You should be. You cheated on your pregnant wife. You humiliated me in front of people who were supposed to respect me. You made me feel worthless. So I decided to show you exactly what you lost. She walked to him, standing close enough that he could smell her perfume. The same one she'd worn on their wedding day. I hope she was worth it, Yara said softly. I hope every moment with Minji was worth losing the woman who would have spent her life loving you. Because that woman is gone. I killed her, and in her place is someone you can't control, can't manipulate, can't underestimate ever again. Adrian's eyes burned. So that's it? 5 years of marriage, gone? No, Yara corrected. 5 years of me trying to be enough for a man who was never going to see my value. But I'm done trying. I'm enough. I always was. You were just too blind to see it. She held out a pen. Sign the papers. Go back to Seoul. Save whatever pieces of your empire you can. And learn from this. Adrian took the pen, his hand shaking. Every signature felt like a piece of his soul being ripped away. But he signed. Every page. Every clause. Giving up the penthouse, half his liquid assets, agreeing to the settlement terms that would leave him wealthy but diminished. When he finished, Chidi collected the papers without a word. Can I ask you something? Adrian said, looking at Yara one final time. She nodded. Did you ever really love me? Yara's expression softened, just for a moment. I loved you more than you'll ever know. I loved you enough to lose myself trying to be what you wanted. I loved you enough that your betrayal almost destroyed me. She paused. But then I realized something. Love shouldn't make you smaller. It should make you more. And our marriage was making me disappear. I'm sorry, Adrian said, and meant it. For all of it. I know you are. But sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep. Sorry doesn't give me back the years I wasted waiting for you to choose me. Yara walked to the door, opening it. Goodbye, Adrian. I hope you find happiness. Real happiness. The kind that doesn't come from controlling people or building empires. Adrian walked out of the compound, into the Accra heat, feeling hollower than he'd ever felt in his life. His driver was waiting, but Adrian waved him off. He needed to walk, to breathe, to process the magnitude of what had just happened. His phone buzzed incessantly. Messages from his board of directors, his lawyers, news alerts about the corruption story breaking across Korean media. The empire he'd built was crumbling in real time, but all he could think about was Yara's face, the strength in her eyes, the peace in her voice. She'd won, completely and utterly, and he'd lost more than money or reputation. He'd lost something irreplaceable. 3 months later, Adrian stood in his smaller apartment in Seoul. The penthouse was Yara's now, part of the settlement. AOK Global Technologies had survived, barely, after massive restructuring and a public apology tour. His relationship with Minji had imploded spectacularly when she'd realized he was broke and broken. He'd started therapy, started examining the patterns that had led him to this moment. Started understanding that the boy who'd clawed his way from poverty to power had never learned that relationships weren't conquests to be won. His phone chimed with a notification. A news article. Yara's face smiled from the screen, radiant in professional attire. The headline read, Yara Adeyemi, named Director of West African Arts Initiative at Ghana National Museum. There she was, thriving. Exactly as she'd said she would. Adrian saved the article, a reminder. Not of what he'd lost, but of what happened when you underestimated someone. When you took love for granted. When you mistook quiet for weak. The view from his apartment wasn't spectacular. No floor-to-ceiling windows, no marble floors. But maybe that was fitting. Maybe he needed to rebuild from humility instead of arrogance this time. His therapist's words echoed, "You can't change the past, but you can choose who you become next." Adrian looked at Yara's photo one more time, then closed the app. She deserved her happiness, earned through strength and strategy and refusing to be diminished. And he deserved this lesson, painful as it was. A woman who leaves quietly isn't weak. She's been planning. And when she's ready, she doesn't just leave. She transforms. And sometimes she takes your whole world with her, leaving you to figure out how to build something real from the ashes of your ego. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to AfroKorean Story Vault. Drop a comment telling us, was Yara right to destroy Adrian's empire, or should she have forgiven him? We upload powerful stories like this every single day, so turn on those notifications. And tell us where you're watching from: Lagos, Seoul, New York, London. We want to hear from you. This is AfroKorean Story Vault, where every story matters. Until next time, lovelies.